full-size test series in the home of cricket. India Tour of England Test Series, August 1st to September 11. Download the ESPN Cricinfo app now.
Adam Collins and Adam Voges here on Newlands at the end of the test match for ESPN Cricinfo. A test match that was resolved by a margin of 322 runs. South Africa thrashed Australia, bowling them out for 107 when they needed 430 to win the test match. But that was never going to happen. The collapse was always going to happen. There was a sense of inevitability about it after what a debacle the previous 24 hours have been, where Stephen Smith and David Warner have both lost their leadership posts in the short term at least.
Yeah, that's right. Coming to the ground today, we knew that this could be a real possibility. That we knew that batting last on this wicket was going to be difficult, but obviously with the events in the last 24, 48 hours, that where the Australian cricketers, where their minds were, where their heads were, there was a real chance that this collapse could happen, and as we saw it unfold, it certainly did.
Tim Paine was the not-out man. He's the new captain of the Australian cricket team, for now at least. Steve Smith's been given a one-game suspension, 4 demerit points for bringing the game into disrepute. Cameron Bancroft picked up 3 demerit points for his role in what happened out here yesterday. Do you think that's the right sanction in terms of what the ICC have levelled, banning Smith and letting Bancroft play next week?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that the ICC have deemed that Steve Smith's actions are more warranted of suspension than what Cameron Bancroft's are, and as a captain of the team, you do need to take responsibility of every member of that team. Steve Smith and Cameron Bancroft did that in their press conference yesterday, and the ICC have come down hard on Steve Smith.
And is your expectation that Cricket Australia will have additional sanctions upon Smith, Warner, and who knows, Lehman and other players in the side, and look at making Tim Paine perhaps even the permanent captain?
Yeah, we know that Ian Roy, the Integrity Commissioner, is on his way along with Pat Howard, and I'm sure once that review is complete that we will see some changes to the hierarchy of Australian cricket. I thought Tim Paine handled himself particularly well today in trying circumstances. Whether it was an audition or not for further opportunities, we'll wait and see.
They lost 10 for 50 in that collapse. We described it as inevitable earlier. It was really hard to watch after tea, especially after the openers had put on 50.
Yeah, that's right. And when Cameron Bancroft and David Warner were there, we were talking about a rearguard action and the fact that they were putting up some resistance. But as often happens, a run out changes the course of the game, and from there it was just really a procession.
And a couple of words about Morné Morkel. 9 for 110 in a test match, 5 in the second dig. Australia hasn't always been a country he's performed particularly well against, but what a tremendous performance by the man who is playing his penultimate test match this week. His last test match will be at the Wanderers next week, and also up his 300th scalp along the way as well.
Yeah, that's right, and he received a standing ovation at the end of the game, and he dismissed Josh Hazlewood to win the game for South Africa. He was just magnificent. 9 wickets for the game. We spoke up Rabada, we spoke up Philander before the game, but he was the man who really did the damage to the Aussies and was a thoroughly deserved man of the match.
He wasn't the only man to bring up his 300th wicket in this test match. Nathan Lyon, these weren't the circumstances he would have liked to have brought up as such a momentous achievement for him personally, but he did it today. And some words about Nathan Lyon's career.
Yeah, that's right. He took a wicket with his first ball in Test cricket and managed to get his 300th today. And it would have been a bittersweet moment for Nathan Lyon. I'm sure he would have loved to have taken this wicket in different circumstances, but a special moment in his career. Just the 6th Australian to get to the mark, and a wonderful achievement. He's been labelled the GOAT in terms of off-spinners for Australia, and another wonderful milestone.
That's the greatest of all time, in case you were wondering. Next test match starts in 4 days' time at the Wanderers in Johannesburg. Australia need to win the test match to square the series. South Africa have already retained the trophy. Just how hard is it going to be for the Australian side to keep themselves together before Johannesburg?
Well, I think it'll be incredibly difficult. As we mentioned, there'll be the review. How much work they actually get done on the training track, that'll be for the coaches to decide. But yeah, it's going to be a tough day, 4 days for Australia. Expect to see changes. We know of one already. I think there's some bowlers in this team that are really redlining at this stage, and we may see a debut or two. Expect to see Peter Handscomb come into the side, and whether we see reinforcements sent from Australia, we'll wait and see.
A series that's been brilliant on the field, but Faf du Plessis appropriately described a soap opera off it. Adam Collins and Adam Voges at Newlands. It's what's been a really terrible week for Test cricket.
Sarah Pereira as well as Nelson Shanaka. Lots of options. It's a decent enough start for South Africa despite the loss of 2 wickets. They'll be happy at this rate of scoring.
Leg break this time. Roland, a couple of days ago. Beautifully bowled. Having a wonderful time, Akila Dhananjaya.
Big key battle, and the biggest obstacle in Virat Kohli's way as far as scoring runs is concerned is a name called James Anderson. Now, he's always got the wood on Virat. We'll bring us some stats to show you just why he's done that. He's really been successful against Virat Kohli. I mean, just look at that, 8 innings, and these are just tests in England, VVS. He's scored just 19 runs off him, 4.75 is his average, and 4 times. What does Virat really need to do differently to counter?
I think first and foremost, know where his off-stump is, because that's one area where Jimmy Anderson or Stuart Broad or any fast bowler in L will try to attack. Now, unlike 2014, I think Virat Kohli's technique is much better. His head position is in a better place at the moment. It's very still. In 2014, his head was dropping, because of which he didn't know where his off-stump was. But the line of attack from Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad will be outside the off-stump. But having said that, the important element as far as Jimmy and Stuart Broad and the English bowlers is, will the ball swing? Okay. And if it swings, Jimmy has got a rare skill where the ball 3/4 into the wicket comes straight and then moves little late. So that will be the challenge for Virat early on in his innings. But once he's set, I think the way he's batting at the moment, I don't see any problem.
If the ball swings the way it swung on day one, did you see the ball swing too much?
I didn't see much, you know, except probably just after lunch, the first 5-6 overs, the ball was swinging and the Indian bowlers were looking to bowl the ball up. But there was not so much of evidence as far as swing is concerned.
Okay, but Toby, I have a question for you, because we were talking about Anderson versus Virat Kohli. Now, many would say that Anderson, of course, he's got the wood on Virat, as we showed in our stats too, but many would say that it's not the same James Anderson that we saw 4 years ago. He's lost a bit of pace. He's coming back after injury. Do you see that play a role in the battle between Kohli and Anderson?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, particularly here in England. I think if you look at the summer he had last year, it was a particularly impressive return. And I think the thing that James Anderson has developed over the years is to find ways of, even when he's not at his peak fitness or necessarily feeling his best, he's still effective. So certainly I think, like you've highlighted, it's going to be a really key battle. And as you alluded to there in the studio, if the ball's swinging, certainly, you know, there aren't many better producers swing bowling in the world than James Anderson, so it should provide a fascinating battle. And I think VVS, you know, hit the nail on the head. If the Indian batsmen, you know where their off stump is and leave the ball well, then certainly they've got a good chance of posting a good total.